Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines we're tracking for you this evening. Bulls remain in charge. Markets gain for the fourth straight session. The Nifty and the Sensex hit fresh 5-month highs. Financials lead from the front. The Nifty Bank and Mid-Cap Index end at record closing highs for the second straight session. The Reserve Bank Annual Report reiterates 6.5% GDP growth in FY24 but warns that a global slowdown and financial market volatility are risks. Highlights that the RBI transferred 1.3 trillion rupees to the contingency fund so as to raise its equity to 6% in keeping with the Jalan panel mandate. Private equity investors are looking for more than just a spectator seat in the companies that they invest in. So far in 2023, PE firms have picked up controlling stakes worth $1.3 billion through just 5 deals. That's already 29% of the value of the deals clocked in 2022. Some hard-right Republican lawmakers reportedly say they will oppose the deal to lift the U.S. debt ceiling for 2 years. President Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy had reached an in-principle agreement on raising the debt limit. However, the proposal needs to go through the U.S. Congress. The final contours of the draft digital competition law could soon be ready. Sources tell us a 16-member panel is likely to recommend criteria based on active users and global turnover to identify gatekeepers. The law, if passed by Parliament, could have major consequences for big tech companies. Home Minister Amit Shah in violence-hit Manipur holds discussions to find a solution to the ethnic crisis in the state. The centre announces 10 lakh compensation for families of those killed in the clashes. Congress leaders, led by party chief, meet President Murmu, demand a high-level inquiry commission into the violence. India's top wrestlers decide to immerse their medals in the Ganga River. In Haridwar this evening, Olympic bronze medalist Sakshi Malik tweets, "It seems the medals have no meaning anymore." Delhi police registers FIRs against the wrestlers on Sunday, say they can protest anywhere but not at Jantar Mantar. Russia accuses Ukraine of launching drone attacks on its capital. Moscow calls it a terrorist attack and says air defenses destroyed all 8 drones. Ukraine denies the involvement in the attack. Chennai Super Kings lift the IPL trophy for the 5th time after a last ball win over Gujarat Titans. JioCinema breaks the world record for the most concurrent views on a live-streamed event with 3.2 crore viewers watching the final. Well, we'll get to that IPL match, which was thrilling, but let's start with the market action. It was another good day for the Bulls as the markets gained for the fourth straight session. The Nifty and the Sensex ending at fresh 5-month highs and are now just 1% away from record highs. The broader markets rose in line with the blue chips. Both the Mid-Cap Index and the Nifty Bank ended at record closing highs for the second straight sessions. Financials remained a major support to the market rally. Prashant standing by with the market action. Prashant, another strong market session.
One day and one step closer to an all-time high on the Nifty. The Bank Nifty, of course, made a new all-time high, and today it made a fresh all-time high in the last hour of trade. But on the Nifty, we are still yet to make it. We're not very far away at all. 18,887 is that number. The momentum has been pretty strong, supported by foreign inflows, which continue to remain strong. Now, today, action happened in the last hour on the banks more so. And the graph will tell you that because it was also the expiry for the Nifty contract, and you see these moves come through. So starting 2:30 and especially after 3 p.m. on the banks, the move was accentuated. Actually, in terms of gainers, it was all financials. HDFC Life, Bajaj Finserv, Bajaj Finance, Kotak Bank are the ones which really stood out. Nothing very large or meaningful on the way down as far as large caps are concerned. Broader market, single stocks is where you had such large, rich moves and, in a very broad arena. Oro Pharma, RBL Bank, Nuclear Software for the 3rd day running continues to do very well. Hiccups, Ujjivan Small Finance Bank, where there is some regulatory relief. The markets responded. Jindal Saw, Aptech, Monte Carlo, Markson, Sirma, AI Engineering, Repco Home Finance. Again, this week has seen Repco add about 20% to its kitty. Sapphire Foods, etc. I mean, the breadth of the move has been truly impressive. Not just today, but over the last many sessions. There were losers as well. Actually, the market breadth was more even, Stevens, almost 1:1. So a few downside movers. RVNL, Ircon, the rail infrastructure stocks saw some pullback. CET came into the losing list in the second half of the day. Stovecraft, The company spoke to us in the morning, said the demand environment actually is pretty soft. Campus footwear reacting to poor numbers, Tube Investments, Jubilant Pharma were some of the others, where there was some news involved as well. Over to the US markets, which are coming after a day's holiday. And the question in the US is, can the US markets continue on the upside after last Friday's powerful 2% move on the NASDAQ? And I think that handoff tomorrow morning will be important to see.
Many thanks for joining us. Yes, we will be watching out for that handoff. But onto the commodity market action. Crude prices softening after reports that Republican hardliners will vote against the deal that will raise the U.S. debt ceiling when it is presented to Congress. Fears that OPEC Plus will leave output quotas unchanged also weighed on prices. Meanwhile, gold prices fell close to two-month lows. This as the safe haven metal has lost its appeal on fears of has lost its sheen. The Reserve Bank of India's annual report has reiterated a 6.5% GDP growth in FY24, but warned that global slowdown and financial market volatility remain key risks. Lata joins us now with the highlights of the annual report. Lata, RBI saying the growth momentum will sustain, but what about its balance sheet and P&L statement for the last fiscal?
The annual report is basically interesting for the government to know how much dividend it will get, but that's already been announced, 87,000 crore. So the balance sheet has grown by 2.5%. The RBI balance sheet grows because it buys bonds and dollars, FX. Okay, now the balance sheet, that is the MTM gains have come on gold. Currency and gold have been revalued up. We know gold prices went up and the rupee depreciated. So that's a 23% rise in its existing assets. But its foreign securities value has fallen by 1.65 trillion, it says, because as we know, US Treasuries, if you compare from March to last April to this April, the yields have shot up by about 500 basis points. So the price of the securities have fallen, and that is the mark-to-market loss that the Reserve Bank has suffered because it holds its FX reserves in US Treasuries and other foreign treasuries. So because the contingency fund went down, the Reserve Bank had to transfer 1.3 trillion rupees. That is its only expense. Otherwise, its income has done well. But because of this, the contingency fund had to be increased. Now, this is included in the calculation of the equity. So the equity of the central bank rises to 6%. Now, this is important. The Jalan Committee has said that it should be a minimum of 5.5 to 6.5% of its balance sheet. And up until now, last 3-4 years, the RBI has only kept 5.5% as its available realized equity. This is the first time it has raised it to the midpoint of the Jalan Committee recommendation to 6% because this is a year when the central bank has made a lot of money. Selling FX, it has lent money in repo, so it's made money and therefore it's given a generous dividend, but it could have given a dividend of even 1.5 lakh crore. It has chosen not to do that, but transfer more money to the contingency fund. That is the big takeaway, really, from the Reserve Bank annual report. Otherwise, its income grew by 47%. Like you said, interest income was the biggest earner, about 50% higher. Other income, which is largely FX gains, selling of foreign exchange, that grew by about 42%. And in terms of expenditure, the biggest was, like I told you, the transferring of money to the contingency fund, higher provisions. That rose by about 14%.
All right, Lata, many thanks for joining us. Vedanta's promoter, Vedanta Resources, has created a pledge on 4.4% of its overall holding in the company. Now, the pledge was created in favor of Glencore International on the 25th of May to borrow $250 million. Glencore is the world's largest mining company in revenue terms. The announcement comes just days ahead of the scheduled maturity of the company's junk-rated bonds worth $500 million. Japanese medical equipment manufacturer Omron will set up its first plant in Tamil Nadu to make medical devices. Government sources have confirmed to CNBC-TV18 that Omron will set up base just outside of Chennai as it invests upwards of $15 million to manufacture devices like blood pressure monitors and nebulizers. The investment deal was struck during Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin's latest visit to Japan and Singapore to attract investments into the state. It also comes on the back of similar investment and expansion plans from MNCs like Hyundai, Mitsubishi Electric and Cisco, to name a few. On to a CNBC-TV18 exclusive. A government-appointed interministerial panel is in the final stages of preparing a draft digital competition law. The draft bill aims to provide startups a level playing field with big tech companies. Parikshit joins us now with what we can expect. Parikshit, take us through the contours.
Well, yes, the Parliamentary Committee on Finance had recommended an ex-ante law on the lines of the European Union to check big tech companies from dominating the digital marketplace. The government had set up an interministerial panel to examine the need for a law separate from the Competition Act. We hear that the draft of this proposed digital competition law will be ready very soon. The 10th meeting of the interministerial panel, headed by the MCA secretary, will meet on the 1st of June, and sources say the committee members will give final touches to the law in this meeting. The committee will then recommend the draft law to the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and the proposed legislation could be brought to Parliament in the winter session. The committee members are considering a criteria to identify gatekeepers. Gatekeepers in the digital markets would include e-commerce, search engines, food delivery platforms, cab aggregators. These are large big tech companies which would be identified as gatekeepers based on the number of active users and the global turnover. These companies would have to comply with at least 10 obligations, including interoperability, anti-steering provisions, portability, and data usage provisions as well. The committee is considering a penalty to the tune of 10% of the global turnover of a big tech company in case they do not meet these obligations and violate them. What is the larger objective? Well, the government is keen on making sure that startups have a level playing field with big tech companies in the evolving digital market.
Well, this is going to be important. Parikshit, many thanks for joining us with the latest. Now, private equity firm Warburg Pincus has picked up a 90% stake in Vistar Finance for $250 million. This gives Warburg a controlling stake in the NBFC that lends to micro, small and medium enterprises in India. Now, after the deal, founders Brahmanand Hegde and Ramakrishna Nishtala will retain a small portion of their stake in the company. The deal has provided an early investor exit for Elevar Equity, Omidyar Network India, Sama Capital, Investbridge Capital, an opportunity to exit. But this is not the first time that a private equity player has picked up a controlling stake in a company in India. Yusuf and Arundhati Ramanan find out how this particular trend is faring.
Well, the Warburg Vistar deal is actually the fifth deal this year where a private equity firm has picked up a controlling stake in a company. According to data from Grant Thornton Bharat, some of the other key deals in this vein include Advent's purchase of 50.1% in Suvain Life Sciences from the Jasti family for $770 million and Brookfield Asset Management's purchase of a 51% stake in CleanMax Enviro Energy for $304 million. In all, these 5 deals have a total value of $1.3 billion. The Grant Thornton Bharat data says that in 2022, India saw 11 deals where PE firms picked up a controlling interest in a target company. These deals totaled $5.6 billion and include Shell Overseas buying 100% in Spring Energy for $1.5 billion and Ind Infravid Trust buying 5 operational road projects from Brookfield Asset Management for $1.2 billion. However, the overall trend for the last few years suggests a slowdown in such deals. 2019 saw 27 deals worth $9.4 billion. 2020 saw 17 deals worth $3.4 billion. 2021 saw 15 deals worth $5.6 billion. And like I just mentioned, 2022 saw 11 deals worth $5.6 billion. Let's look at sectors now. The data from 2019 onwards shows that deals in the healthcare, energy and real estate space have been the most popular. Pharma, healthcare and biotech had seen as many as 12 deals since the beginning of 2019. Energy comes a close second with 10 deals, and the real estate space stands at third spot with 8 deals in value terms. And the real estate space stands at third spot with 8 deals. In value terms, however, the number 1 spot goes to telecom, followed by IT and then energy. And here are the 2 biggest deals we've seen in the last 5 years. Brookfield Asset Management, British Columbia Investment Management Corp and GIC together spent $3.7 billion to acquire Reliance Jio Infratel in 2019. The second biggest deal, at a little over $2 billion, saw Blackstone buying a 55.3% stake in Mphasis in 2021. Now, like I said earlier, we may have just 5 such deals so far this year, but only 5 months are done. And we're already at 29% of the entire deal value seen in 2022. So there is a chance we could end the year better than 2022. With Yusuf Kuttiparambal in Mumbai, this is Arundhati Ramanan.
India's top wrestlers have decided to immerse their medals in the river Ganga in Haridwar this evening. The wrestlers have been protesting at Jantar Mantar for over a month, seeking the arrest of Federation Chief Brij Bhushan Singh over sexual harassment allegations. They were detained by the Delhi police on Sunday ahead of their march towards the new Parliament building. Later, FIRs were registered against them for alleged rioting. पुलकित शुक्ला joins us now live from हरिद्वार. पुलकित, ये बताइए कि रेसलर्स हरिद्वार पहुंच चुके हैं. उन्होंने कहा था अपने ट्वीट्स में कि 6 बजे वो गंगा में अपने जो मेडल्स हैं उन्हें इमर्स करेंगे. किस प्रकार की व्यवस्था है वहां पर? पुलिस डिप्लॉयमेंट के बारे में भी बताइए.
देखिए, सुरक्षा व्यवस्था की जहां तक बात है पुलिस डिप्लॉयमेंट की, क्योंकि आज हरिद्वार में गंगा दशहरा का पर्व है और यहां पर गंगा स्नान आज आयोजित हो रहा है. बड़ी संख्या में यहां पर देश भर से जो है दूर दूर से लोग से यहां पर श्रद्धालु यहां पर पहुंचे हुए हैं. हरिद्वार में आज बहुत ज्यादा भीड़ है, इसलिए यहां पर काफी जो है बड़ी तादाद में यहां पर जो है पुलिस फोर्स का डिप्लॉयमेंट किया गया है. चप्पे चप्पे पर पुलिस बल पहले से ही यहां पर तैनात है. अब क्योंकि जिस तरह से ये एक राष्ट्रीय जो मुद्दा है, ये पहले से लंबे समय से चल रहा है. पिछले कई महीनों से जो रेसलर्स है, पहलवान है, वो अपना धरना दे रहे थे. परसों उनके धरने को जबरन दिल्ली पुलिस ने समाप्त कराया. तो उसके बाद जिस तरह से आज कुछ बड़े रेसलर्स की ओर से सोशल मीडिया अकाउंट पर ये ट्वीट करके जानकारी दी गई कि आज हरिद्वार में पहुंचकर सब अपने मेडल्स को जो है उनको हरिद्वार में विसर्जित कर देंगे. तो उसके बाद कहीं ना कहीं से जो हरिद्वार का जिला प्रशासन है वो इसको लेकर सतर्क हो गया है. हालांकि अधिकारी इस पर स्पष्ट रूप से सामने आकर जरूर कह रहे हैं कि हरिद्वार है और ये सभी कोई भी यहाँ पर आने पर किसी भी तरह की रोक नहीं है. सुरक्षा व्यवस्था की कोई चिंता की बात नहीं है, कोई समस्या की बात नहीं है. लेकिन 6 बजे का समय जो है रेसलर्स के द्वारा बताया गया है और दिल्ली से जो रेसलर्स हैं और उनके अन्य जो समर्थक हैं वो यहाँ पर रवाना भी हो गए हैं और हर की तैयारी पर ये इंतजार किया जा रहा है. मीडिया का भी जमावड़ा इसमें लग गया है. जिस तरह से सूचना पूरी तरह से फ्लैश हुई है तो मीडिया का जमावड़ा भी लगा हुआ है. अब इंतजार हो रहा है कि 6 बजे रेस्टोरेंट यहाँ पर पहुंचेंगे और किस तरह से जो उन्होंने कहा है, जो चेतावनी दी है, किस तरह से वो अपनी कार्रवाई को अंजाम देते हैं. और 6 बजे का समय उन्होंने बताया है. और देखने वाली बात होगी कि क्या ये उस तरह से पूरा कर पाते हैं या किसी न किसी कारण से ये जो प्रोग्राम है उनका ये स्थगित हो जाता है. जी
पुलकित शुक्ला, Dhanyavad, Pulkit Shukla, they're reporting there live from Haridwar. As we've been telling you, the wrestlers have tweeted earlier this morning saying that there is nothing left for them to fight for, and they believe that it is meaningless for them to hold on to these medals, and hence they are now moving towards Haridwar, and the immersion of their medals is expected to take place at 6 p.m. today. India's aviation sector has been flying through turbulence, and Go First grounding has brought more pain to air travellers. Ever since the airline suspended operations, airfares, especially on routes where the airline operated, have seen a dramatic spike. Madiha standing by to take us through what one airline's grounding is meant for the sector. Madiha, we've been tracking this story closely. We have seen prices spike, but they are spiking on sectors that are crucial at this point in time, given the fact that this is summer vacation time. People are keen to take holidays. Take us through what trends have emerged since the grounding of Go First.
Indeed, Shireen, Go First collapse has burnt a big hole in the pockets of air travellers. Airfares have seen multi-fold spike ever since the airline shut operations. And as you mentioned, some of the key routes, the vacation routes that Go First operated on, are seeing a very sharp surge. And look at these fares that are gathered from various booking sites. So if you're travelling tomorrow from Delhi to Leh, you have to pay over 36,000 rupees. Then Mumbai to Leh, the lowest fare is 17,000 and highest is 35,000 rupees. Delhi to Srinagar, a very popular Go First route, is costing 11,600 rupees as the lowest fare and 26,700 rupees as the highest fare. Then look at Mumbai to Jammu. Lowest is 10,800 rupees and the highest is 52,600 rupees. These are the highest ever rates ever seen on these routes. Similarly, other routes like Delhi-Goa, Delhi-Patna, Mumbai-Patna, Mumbai-Varanasi and Mumbai-Chennai are also seeing a dramatic spike in airfares. And I have checked these fares at around 4 p.m. So there are high chances the cost could even surge further after some time. Let me now talk about how exactly is Go First grounding impacting airfares. India saw 4.2 lakh passengers on 29th of May. So air traffic is continuously rising. Go First, before suspending operations, carried about 35,000 passengers daily. Now that the airline is shut, this traffic is being directed to other airlines. So a squeezed capacity and increasing demand is leading to airfares skyrocketing. And if you look at the market share of existing airlines, Indigo has gained significantly since January, growing from 54.6% to 57.5%. Akasa Air is another beneficiary. It has gained market share from 2.8% in January to 4% in April. But this is also at the cost of one airline going out of business, at least for now. And if we want airfares to come down, we will probably need more players in the market.
Absolutely. Capacity is an issue, is a challenge. And as you can see, the price is reflecting that supply not being able to keep pace with demand. Madiha, many thanks for joining us. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. Thanks very much for watching. Do stay tuned to CNBC-TV18. The news continues when we return.